Okay, so I'm giving this talk at our ERI today, and so I'm going to actually you guys can come. It's starting at noon in June, if we want to. And but I'm not quite ready yet. So
you have to get ready for it. No problem. But maybe, Han, we could schedule you for the March COP meeting for this talk.
Yeah.
Would that be good? I'll get in touch with you. I'll double check. I'll put the dates and times down, and I'll reach out and see if that works for you for the March meeting. That would be awesome. Yeah, I won't be able to make the noon because I have another meeting already scheduled. So
yeah, so
right after this one. Great.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's shoot for some other time.
That would be wonderful. Thank you for showing that to us, and we look forward to it. And I wish you luck in preparing for that.
Yeah, thanks.
There may be others who are on who can and want to join. So if you want to if you have the call-in information for the ERI meeting, you can certainly throw that in the chat too if you have it or you have to hop.
So do you want me to send the Zoom link for the meeting, ERI meeting?
Yeah, because even though Ann and I have another call, others may want to attend that.
You may want to show the title again too, Han, because we have some new people.
I think let's shoot for another setting up another.
Let's do that
for this group.
You have to go. Thank you for showing us, though, and I'll be in touch, and hopefully we can have that presentation in March. It looks incredibly interesting.
I'm happy to do that. So later.
Okay, sounds great, Han. Thanks for hopping on. Have a nice one.
Thank you.
Good luck with that.
Yep.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Let me make sure I put my phone on focus. So there we go. Yeah. Nice to see everybody today. We're going to start with some introductions. Welcome to the Wood Utilization Community of Practice. And this is our kickoff for the year. And my name is Ann Matek, and I am co-chair of this community of practice. I'm here in Flagstaff. I oversee the Greater Flagstaff Forest Partnership. And then I also have my own consulting firm where I work in forest health issues and social science research as it applies to forest health issues. And so we'll just go around and I'll call on everybody. Becca, do you want to introduce yourself? You're on mute.
Thanks. I thought I was just clicking away, making noise at you all. I'm Becca Samolsky. I'm the director of Fire Adapted Colorado. Live in Southwest Colorado and work out of an office in Dolores. And I've had a long time interest in tracking on treatment economics and wood utilization opportunities, going back from landscape restoration, running the Watershed Collaborative here in the southwest corner of Colorado, and have been trying to co-chair this community of practice with Ann for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now, I think, to just kind of keep the discussion going and remind people that we're not going to be very successful with mitigation for wildfires if we don't have opportunities for what to do with all that wood.
Thanks, Becca. And Steve.
Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Orr. I'm a training specialist with Fire Adapted Colorado. It's a relatively new position. I live in Boulder, Colorado. And I am new to the community of practice, and Becca invited me to join. I keep hearing from our members, it is a very much a ongoing and very familiar or common issue for people that are doing work. What do we do with all the biomass? So I think it's very relevant, and I'm excited to be a part of the group.
Well, welcome, Steve. That's great. We're really happy to have you as well. And Eli.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eli Jensen. I'm the owner of Ironwood Forestry. I mostly do timber sale prep, but I'm always looking at what else is out there and what other solutions are needed.
Thanks, Eli. And Tom.
Hi, everybody. Tom Perry, State of Montana Department of Natural Resources, Wood Products and Nursery Programs. Happy to be here for the kickoff.
Great, thanks, Tom. And Brian.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Brian Garbish, I'm the Forestry Programs Administrator for the state of South Dakota. I've got forest stewardship, forest legacy, and forest health programs to administer. So
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Brian. And David.
Hi, I'm David Birchfield with the Fire Adapted Communities Learning Network. I'm the newest member of the staff there as a member services associate, and I'm just here to listen in, and if there's support that our network can offer, then I'm still here for that. So glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining, David. It's good to have you. And Fraser.
Yeah, Fraser with the Oregon Office of State Fire Marshal. We have a community risk reduction program, and I'm here to kind of take the knowledge that we have here. We have a lot of projects going on throughout the state, and try to see if I can apply some of those to some of those projects.
Great, thank you, Fraser. And we have one that says California.
I think I better change that. This is Carmen Austin with New Mexico
Oh.
Fourth Division in Santa Fe. Hi, good morning, Ann.
Good morning. It's so funny, California. I was just sort of guessing. I'm like, CA, well, California.
I was on a call yesterday that they said California too, so I need to change that.
Okay,
Anyhow,
good.
I'm the climate change specialist for New Mexico Forestry Division.
Wonderful.
Just excited to be with you guys. Thank you.
Oh, we're happy to have you. And thanks everybody for joining today. And what we're really trying to do is sort of set the stage for this year and really how we can grow our community of practice and involve more folks that you think could add to this community. And we'll talk about that more in the second part of the agenda, but I did want to bring to everybody's attention, this is more of the peer assist and news from COP members that here in Flagstaff, there's it's sort of an ad hoc biomass working group, and we are thinking of an official name as we speak. We have little votes in for that, but the way Arizona is set up right now, we have a biomass energy plant on the eastern side of the state and the northeastern side of the state. And we don't really have a place to take our biomass on the western side of the state. So there is a really incredibly good think tank that has come together to try to solve this issue. What do we do with the biomass? And can we find funding and build a facility where we can process the biomass on the western side of the state? It's really just in the very beginning of this process, so no decisions have been made. We're looking at biochar, we're looking at biomass, we're looking at an energy plant that's similar to the plant that is on the western side of the state that they have a agreement with SRP and APS, which are both utility companies here in Arizona. And so we also are working with Northern Arizona University, who's here in Flagstaff as well. And they have a sustainability department. And they are also looking for potentially either heating their campus or doing some kind of energy production for their campus. And there are a lot of other larger businesses or stakeholders potentially we could include for energy. But I was going to ask this group if anybody else has tried to tackle something this large. I mean, there's so many buckets that you need to fill as far as putting something like this together, not only the funding, but who will actually use the power and buy the power, and just connecting the power. And there's just it's pretty complex, as I'm listening to it and thinking about it, and I'm definitely not, there's a lot of people in the room that have much more expertise than I do. However, you know, I've got that connection to a lot of people in the state to help connect the dots for everybody. But I thought I'd throw that out there and just at least make this group aware of that. And, you know, as this develops, I can keep updating you, but it is something that's developing here in Flagstaff. So any thoughts? Anybody else has anybody else done something similar?
I'm thinking of a few resources just to get the ball rolling. And the first person that comes to mind for me is Molly Pitts, because I think she's trying to do something like that in the eastern part of Colorado. And I think she may, I mean, I know you've worked with her before, but she may have some, I have a sense she might have been involved in some of the stuff on the east side of Arizona and getting that up and running with the CFLRP there. So that would be a good contact, I think, to follow up with. And then I know Tim Reeder had shared a really good like biomass heating resource in the past. I'm not sure if we have that in our Podio files or not, but I know that I could find that. I could dig deep and pull that resource out. I think it was some really good stuff on like the calculations to figure out if biomass heating worked. And Gloria Erickson had shared stuff with us too on that, Anne. But that might be really helpful to the campus in thinking about, you know, just an easy calculator for haul distances and the value of, I think what Tim Reeder with Colorado State Forest Service had was, I think it calculated, oh good, Tom Perry's probably a lot of links there, but you know, just considerations before you even build and how to retrofit to make the space work for doing biomass heating. So, and I know there was a feasibility analysis done here for looking at an electric plant, biomass plant in my county. And so maybe that feasibility analysis, maybe there's some piece of a model there that would be useful as you guys move forward.
And
That would be great, Becca. If you have anything you can send me, that would be awesome. Yes.
this is Carmen Austin with New Mexico.
Right.
Back in, I want to say it was 2009, Forestry Division, along with our sister division, Energy Conservation Management Division, we installed a wood chip boiler in southwestern New Mexico around Silver City. I can dig deep to find some information regarding that to assist you, just, you know, for the heating project. We worked alongside Biomass Energy Resource Center out of Vermont. So I have some wood specification guidelines. We also worked with Welsh Brothers in Albuquerque. They provided a Hearst boiler, so they might be of some assistance as well. But I'll dig deep and see what I can share with you.
That would be wonderful. I'd really appreciate that. Yeah, any kind of information that we can, you know, I can get into this committee's hands, I think would be very helpful. Any other thoughts or comments? Well, I'll keep you all posted on our progress. Like I said, it's pretty new group coming together here, but it's exciting because we're literally, you know, our contractors at times just really just don't know what to do with the biomass and the amount of money that it costs to transport it across to the biomass energy plant on the east side of the state is, of course, as you all know, really a deterrent and barrier for us. So we're really trying to figure this out. It just seems like if we get that problem solved, it's really going to help the pace and scale over here. And it's supposed to pick up with 4 Fry. So fingers crossed that it will. Eli, did you have any thoughts on that since you're here from Flag?
No direct thoughts. This is a little bit outside my wheelhouse, but very good thing for to keep my eyes and ears on, as it is very important.
Yeah, we'll be doing some updates at some point at a GFFP meeting, because it is going to be under the umbrella of GFFP, the Greater Flagstaff Forest Partnership. So we can switch gears, and if there are others that want to have any news or provide any updates or need a peer assist, please chime in.
I'm curious if anybody else is seeing more local hiring of wood utilization kind of people. I saw a position recently hired through a conservation district, which was kind of a new thing here in Colorado, to have somebody who was really geared toward just helping to deal with the biomass off of their little projects. It wasn't even a conservation, it was like a an open space, like a parks and open space organization. And I'm just wondering if anybody's running into issues with workforce to coordinate the work, if that's growing along with CWDG, or if that's still just like a huge hole.
Well, we were in a 4-5 meeting yesterday, Eli and I, and Forest Service was saying like they have huge holes. We didn't ask them specifically about wood utilization positions per se, but it just sounded like across the board that it's a huge problem, like huge. And it makes me really nervous listening to that, because I think our progress could be impeded drastically because of that.
I'll add on to that. I was actually gone for that part of the meeting, but I'm not surprised. Everything the Forest Service says, anything anybody says, they wanted to hire these big crews, big marking crews, because we're going to prep 30,000 acres a year, and they get nobody. And that seems to be the case. I see articles on LinkedIn, researchers don't know where the student's going. They're not going into research, they're not going into the field. It's a huge problem, and I don't think that we're really talking about it enough. There's a huge skills gap. I think I was the youngest person in that meeting yesterday, except for their PhD. The facilitators had a young woman. But I mean, who's going to train these kids? And the people who are going to train them are aging out, and the universities aren't serving that need in the capacity that they need to. And I think it's going to be, it's already a huge problem. And bringing it back to wood utilization, it's the same thing. And I got my master's in wood science, so it's something I always wanted to do. That's why I have an interest. But I mean, who's going to come in and fill these needs? And just to put a positive note on it, we are planning on building a field training course in Flagstaff on state land in the next year. And we want to build out different training modules to serve the needs of industry, and also to have online components through SAS e-learning platform. And so if I hear from you guys that, there's a strong need to hire wood utilization coordinators, and we're just not getting the people with the skill set. If you find someone with the desire and the aptitude, let me know. That's something that maybe we can help. We can build out a training module for basic wood utilization knowledge. Because it's not difficult. It's just, you just got to read about it, and it's just knowledge, right? So hopefully, that could be helpful.
No, that's good, Eli. And I think it's just something to keep in mind. I don't know if I could answer that question or if other people can. But I also just think, just in general, reaching out to the younger generation is something we're all going to need to focus on and do to get them into natural resource management positions, because it seems like it's a big hole and a big problem.
So we have a little bit, our issues here are a little different. We've had, been recruiting foresters, been hiring, we've been getting people accepting jobs and then declining them. And it's because of the cost of living. They recognize that they can't get a house in the community where their job is. They don't want to commute. And I for one hear that loud and clear. I think commuting is a waste of life. And if you got to put 60 minutes on both ends of the day just to get to a job, that's a deal breaker. So yeah, cost of living is our biggest thing, because we're getting people to apply, we're getting people to accept, and then they're not taking it. And to clarify, we're not creating wood utilization positions. We're hiring field foresters to get the work done. That's basically our bottleneck, where we could obviously use more industry for the low value material, but we do have an intact forest products industry. So trying to scale up for us, yeah, our biggest challenge is that affordable housing.
Yeah, I'm hearing that too in every workforce conversation, definitely bubbling to the top. And I definitely, that's something I was trying to carry pretty early on. I was at the cohesive strategy workshop this fall, and I definitely brought that up pretty front and center of like, you guys want to deal with wildfire resilience issues, you got to deal with housing. You can't ignore these big issues that are killing all of us. So yeah, I think that's a great thing to keep pushing at state and federal levels for addressing. And anywhere where we have those like overlapping, like, let's build affordable housing out of American lumber, out of cross-laminated timber, like anywhere where there's opportunities to push for that, I think we have to. Thanks for the feedback.
And we have a couple new folks, John and Simone. You want to give a quick introduction? And we are on the agenda, just so you know where we're at. We're working on the peer assist and news from COP members. So also, if you have anything that you would need assistance with, or that any kind of news on the wood utilization front, feel free to let us know. And also Nikki. So we'll go with, because we got 3 new people coming in. So Simone, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Certainly, thank you. Apologies for being late, everybody, but just wanted to introduce myself really quickly. My name is Simone Cordery-Cotter. I am a fire risk reduction specialist up here in Oregon. I cover 6 counties in the Columbia Gorge, a couple of which are heavily forested, a couple more that are sort of savanna and less timber oriented. But my background is originally working in the wood utilization policy advocacy sphere in California. I wrote a publication called Biomass Utilization in the Sierra Nevada when I was working for Sierra Business Council in Truckee, California. So that's sort of my background and where I'm coming from. Thank you for having us.
No, thanks a lot. Thank you, Simone. And I think I've heard of that. I think I saw that somewhere, that study. So, maybe at some point we can have you talk about it specifically. That would be really,
I would love to. Yeah, it might be a bit outdated. It was, I think some of the policy solutions that I was proposing would have been circa 2019, 2019. Yeah, 2019. So some of my California policy sort of background is a bit faded, so I'll have to prep for it, but I would be happy to do so.
that I think would be great. So we can talk about that offline. Yeah, thanks for coming. And Nikki.
Hi, I'm sorry, I had a meeting run late that was in person and required transport, so apologies for being so late, but my name is Nikki Von Hedeman. I'm with the Ecological Restoration Institute here in Flagstaff. And I'm a senior research coordinator, human dimension specialist. This is only my second of these meetings, so I was just kind of hoping to gauge what was going on with the group and understand how we can fit in, just keeping tabs on what's going on in the space. Thanks.
Thanks, Nikki. And John?
Hi, everybody. Same thing. Apologies for being late on this. I was involved with the calls several years ago and kind of lost my way there. So just kind of interested to see who all is involved. I work for the state forestry Division of Forestry, Fire and State Lands in Utah. Based out of Cedar City, do fuels management on 5 counties, private land mainly, and coordinate with federal partners. Background is I spent 25 years as an industry forester in the Intermountain West, and then came to work for the division to do fuels management. And have been here for going on 20 years now with them. So definitely interested in catching up on the discussions.
Well, it's great to have you back, John. And Ali. That's been fire.
Hi there. I am Allie Hager Hammond. I'm the Director of Community Wildfire Resilience with Aspen Fire. And I'm also co-chair of the new Roaring Fork Valley Wildfire Collaborative. This is my first time being on with this group. So I'm really here to kind of listen and learn. I think wood utilization is one of my kind of weakest points of knowledge. So I would love to kind of learn from the expertise in the room. Thanks for having me.
Well, you bet. It's good to have you as well. We have about just a couple more minutes left is there anybody that has something that they'd really like to share as far as any news or an update or something exciting or something they need help with before we move on? Okay. The next section that I really wanted to talk about today is really our strategic direction. And Tom, I'm glad you're here because we have worked with the Western State Foresters Association. They used to have a group called FUN, and now it is, I think, the WS. I'm trying to remember.
Should be FPC Forest Products Committee or WPC Wood Products Committee.
FPC, right. And so Becca and I, this year, we really put together a work plan, and I think David's familiar with what we've proposed, and really, I think trying to really build this COP and, really meet all of your desires and needs, what you would want to see us do and learn about and accomplish. And so, Tom, we were thinking about a few years back, I think I came on to your annual meeting and talked about the wood COP, and we were thinking about doing that again to see if we could interact with your members more and get some more of them to join these webinars and calls and potentially share some of their research and some of their work. And then also really trying to figure out, we feel like this is really your space as much as Becca and mine. And so what is everybody else interested in learning, or what is the direction that we all would want to go? Or is there really some work that we all want to do together to move policy or to move the wood utilization trajectory forward? So this is what I was thinking about talking about during this. And it's really what do you want to accomplish this year? And are there funding opportunities out there that we can explore? Or Are there just new innovations that are on the horizon that are going to help all of us move the needle forward? So I'm going to open it up. And then Becca, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add to set this up.
Just there's a few new members, so if you have any questions about stuff, we can follow up afterward. If you're not already in the Podio networking space and this invite got forwarded to you by somebody else, but you would like to, you know, see and be able to share stuff with others in the group in the future, just make sure that we have your email so we can add you to that space. But no, you might want to know first what the direction of the group is. So let us focus in there a bit first. And you want to provide, well, I guess just like a little bit more background on where we've been for folks who are newer or something. We've just covered a lot of different, here's some innovative ways to use wood. We've and talked about ways to bring costs down. Thinking back to like a presentation by Eli on really getting into some cool technology that he shared with how to be more efficient with field marking. And also really just use this as a space to connect with other people who are specifically dealing with what to do with the wood. Sharing updates about our places and challenges that we're facing, because we always end up with somebody having a useful resource for another person when we have these calls. So really having it be a space where it's a pretty slim community, I would say, of like I consider myself a mitigation specialist, and that wasn't even a term 5 years ago, hardly. And if you look at like your wood utilization, people who have jobs that are specific to that, it's like probably a tenth of the mitigation specialists or less. But it's something that we're all dealing with, and you have people like some of you who are committed to trying to help out for everybody else in the entire state. And we've got these bigger picture projects and attempts at getting to larger scale with forest management projects that are just going to eat our lunch in the wood management category really quickly. So I think there's going to be a lot more interest here, and really a need to have a space where we can learn from one another without trying to figure it out in our own places on our own.
I do have maybe an update, maybe a question. So one thing it's been on my mind a lot. I do have this big project coming up this season. I wasn't sure how applicable it was to wood utilization. It's mostly timber sale prep, but wood utilization is low value, high volume, right? So I guess my question to you all is towards the goal of making utilization more feasible is the accuracy on the projection of supply, right? I know Forest Service cruise data is very, very inaccurate, but I want to pose to you guys, because that's what my project is about. A big outcome of my project is census level data for timber sales instead of sampling. We want to increase the accuracy of these projections by orders of magnitude. So maybe I'm just asking, maybe I'm looking for validation in my reasoning. Is that a logical deduction that would be helpful for wood utilization?
We've had a fair amount of companies come through, reach out to the state that are looking to establish new business, and one of their fiber supply is always front and center, the key question. And we feel very confident in the actual forest data. So to us, we don't see that as an issue. What comes into play, which is much harder, is how do you predict if it's a federal sale, will it be litigated? Will the litigants be successful, or will the wood flow eventually come online? So with large federal land bases, that more than digging into the actual data that came off the plots. It's really that process of, getting through the litigation, getting through NEPA, more than is the wood there that they say is there, has been some of our biggest hurdles. And it's tricky, especially if you're starting from ground zero, because a lot of the other data points we use is, what is currently being harvested, say from an area, and then look at, well, how many truckers do we have? How many people in industry that could become truckers are available? Those are a lot of the data points we use too. And it just becomes a lot trickier if it's a hypothetical. If it's built, will they come, as opposed to a lot of it's here. Maybe we're just shifting or adding on to existing. But
So it sounds like up where you're at, really good forest inventory data. Are there other places, anybody else here, where you feel like that's not as strong, where more of that census approach, besides sampling, would be valuable to learn about? I think you should share your video again at some point, your little link to your good video, because I see a lot of other so when I think about you being able to, what you're using LiDAR and essentially creating the forest, and then being able to say, here's what it looks like when you take it out. And what I see with that kind of technology, Eli, is that it also has a huge amount of benefit for something like what Tom's issue, being like, hey people, look, we can digitally log this before we actually log it, and show you, take out this versus taking out that, and what the outcome is going to look like. So I think there's other pieces of that work that you're doing that, in addition to the forest inventory component, the what's the word I'm looking for, getting the buy-in, kind of, there may be a huge value in that with the tool as well.
Definitely. I can post that link again if anyone's not seen it.
And I wanted to get back to something else, if you don't mind, and something that you mentioned at the beginning of that, Eli, was that wood utilization is about, would you say, low value, high volume stuff. But when we set up this group originally, the intention wasn't to be like specific to biomass conversations. It's really about all of that stuff in the forest and how to get our projects more economical. And I think we've watched, I've seen the costs go from 300 an acre to 3,000 an acre in the handful of years that I've been working on this stuff. And it's just ridiculous, right? And people will charge whatever they can on the mitigation side, let alone aside from timber conversations. But when it comes to doing stuff on private lands and boutique stuff, the costs have just escalated way beyond anything that has to do with inflation. So, that's another piece of this as well, is the potential to look at how do we drive those costs down overall? How do we do return on investment studies toward grants? So I just wanted to expand that idea that this group is just about biomass and what do we do with all the little stuff. We can cover a lot more.
I appreciate that. We can talk about sale prep for hours if you guys want.
I think Steve, you had your hand up, or?
I was waving to someone who's leaving the office I'm working in.
Oh.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
What, if anything, has this group talked about? I know that there's a project being spearheaded by Jeff Ravage of COCO, and like Coalition of the Upper South Platte for fungal degradation of woody biomass. Is that something that has come up here in this space before?
Yeah, Jeff presented on that a couple times, I believe, and a lot of times he's on the calls. But it wouldn't hurt, to also get updates on how that's going. And yeah, he presented last year, I think. Yeah, Becca.
Yeah, and he's also presented on some carbon market stuff. That's another area that we've covered. I guess just for a little carbon markets, we've had presentations on the development of that training center that Eli was talking about. That's looks like it's about got legs under it, which is really exciting. As well as they're trying to get wood chips on the train. I think that's become a reality. We had a good presentation on that. We've had presentations on wood fiber cement. Just stuff on actual quality of logs and quality of ponderosa pine. Eli, you've done some stuff on that. So it's pretty broad on the presentations, and we've kind of tried to alternate between presentation and peer assistance so that we're getting, keeping people up to speed on latest innovations, but also taking the time to get to know one another and be like, hey, Tom up in Oregon, they've got a real live forest product industry still. Maybe he knows something about what we should be looking at to analyze our workforce as we're trying to scale up. So we've tried to make kind of alternating space for those two things in the past.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I was also partially asking, like if people have feedback on that idea, just given, I've talked about it with a couple people in Aspen, and it seems like it would actually potentially have traction here, to kind of further that kind of study. But also I'm very open to hearing from other experts if it's just like, well, that's not going to work and here's why. So yeah, just curious on feedback, because that seems, fairly viable especially in a community where, mushrooms are kind of a big thing. Yeah.
I'll chime in. I followed up with Jeff after his presentation because I also think that idea has a lot of potential. I think what needs to happen is there needs to be someone that's willing to kind of take that idea from the academic level to the industrial level. I'm not a mycologist, I'm not an expert, but I think it's a good idea. I think it needs to be explored.
I wonder if it's the kind of thing that you could get a wood utilization grant, because I think he's mostly been working off of research kinds of grants. And maybe it's something where if you have the place and the will, you could go after a wood innovations grant. I think I said it, utilization, to scale it up and put it in a place where you're going to be leaving the wood on the ground anyway. And I'll find our recording from our past presentation and put a link to it here too, in case this is for
Gotcha,
folks who talking about.
That'd be great. Yeah. I mean, my headspace is also like, Aspen likes to think of itself as like, oh, an idea leader. And so if we can sell a few people on potentially trying to push that forward in this area, I would hope that we could give it some better legs too through that. But yeah, thanks for the feedback. I appreciate it.
I'll throw one more thing out there that maybe you guys don't hear very often. My company took the leap and we just hired 2 full-time foresters. I was the only full-time forester for many years. So there'll be 3 of us now. And that necessitates that outside of the normal field season, I need something for them to do. And so we're trying to brand ourselves as an innovations and solutions company. That can mean anything. So if anyone has any ideas, needs capacity on some winter projects, we're looking for things for these 2 foresters to do in that realm. Maybe we're investigating some mycology, but I'll leave it open out there for you guys.
So also, in thinking about the direction of the COP, if any of you have thoughts about future presentations, adding future people, I did put my email address in the chat. You know, you can send me ideas and I'll make sure we get that to Becca, and we'll add folks, or if there are folks that you think we should add to the Podio space, we will definitely get them added. Another item that we want to improve upon is the Podio space. We have some folders there and they're pretty outdated, and we haven't updated it in a really long time. And so part of this year, what we would like to do is improve the Podio space, make it a really great